What's up, everybody? Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Dumerils boa. So in this video, I want to show you guys some of the Dumerils boas that I have here. I'm going to show you this guy here, but I also want to flip it around and show you some of the babies that I just had. They're absolutely awesome little babies. They're actually really large babies because Dumerils tend to give you kind of a medium to small size baby, but these came from a massive adult mother, and she gave me just some fantastic chubby little babies. So I think you guys are going to like this overall. So let's get right into what a Dumerils boa is. Dumerils boas, they come from Madagascar. They generally live in some drier, more arid regions, and they by the name implies, they live on the ground, but you can find them in the trees. So if you give them some climbing space, they will utilize it just like any boa species, or really most species of snakes in general. Most of them will utilize branches if you provide it, but they will do fine as being strictly on the ground since they are not necessarily an arboreal snake. But as you can see, this snake is holding onto my arm pretty well. Dumerils boas in general, males will range about 5 to 7 feet. Females will get about 6 to 8 feet on average. I think there's a common misconception that these are dwarf boa species. These are not small boas. This is about the same size as an adult boa imperator. So I think overall, a lot of people get into these snakes thinking that they're going to be smaller growing species of boa. That is not true at all, at least in my experience. I think where this notion comes from is that a lot of the people spreading this information about them being smaller species are just snakes that don't really have some age to them. They are a slower growing species, so that can give you that notion that they're smaller. But as over time, I am going to show you a large adult female here. She does have babies, so she's a little bit skinny, but I want to show you that these can get some pretty big snakes. So be prepared if you're getting a Dumerils ground boa. It's about the same size as a regular boa constrictor, boa imperator. You know, they're going to get about the same size, but very heavy bodied, and they really need that ground space. You know, these snakes in general, they range from this silvery gray, and although the camera's making this snake look a little bit more brown, but it's definitely a silvery gray with some beautiful iridescence to it, to these brownish and reddish colors and pink tones. And as we look at some of the babies, you're going to see all different colors and different babies, the variability in their pattern. They're just awesome looking little snakes. One unique thing about Dumerils boas is that the spurs, so it's very easy to sex a Dumerils ground boa because the spurs on these snakes, you're probably not going to be able to see it on the camera. I'll try to show it to you in a second here. But the spurs on males are visible, the spurs on females are not. Females, I believe, have spurs, but they're super small. And what I mean by spurs is most boid species, boas and pythons, are going to have these little spurs near the end of their tail, their cloaca right here. They're going to have one on each side. In some species, rosy boas, Dumerils boas, they are very prominent on males and almost non-existent on females. So that is true for boa constrictors in general as well. And if you watch my old video on how to sex boa constrictors, I think I put in how to identify male versus female boa constrictors because YouTube won't let me use that term. So if you look at that video, I show you how to do it quickly on some boa species, you know, boa constrictors, boa imperators, but it goes the same for these Dumerils ground boas. So let's take a look at this tail real quick, and then I want to go through some of the babies that I have. So I wonder if this is going to be able to focus in. It's kind of blurry, but you can see near my thumb, there is a little spur, a little shiny thing. It looks like, it's almost kind of like the same consistency of a fingernail. And that are their spurs during breeding. The males will use it and kind of go over the female's back and pick up her scales and kind of tickle her in a way. And that's kind of part of their courting activity. So overall, like I said, these species of boas are they're super cool snakes and very underrated. They're a species that I've had for a while. Some of them do have this little white patch underneath their neck, which I'll zoom in on. You can see some of them have this kind of clear patch of scales. Some of them do not. To my knowledge, it hasn't been linked to anything specific beyond some have it and some don't. I'm sure there is some kind of a genetic trait that gets passed down through it, but it's nothing that you're going to have a special morph with, to my knowledge, or at least to the knowledge of many others that I'm aware of. So, again, heavy-bodied species of snake. They are more round compared to a typical boa constrictor. These guys, you don't necessarily want them round, but you also don't want them the shape of a loaf of bread. And you'll see that on my female that just laid that I'm going to pull out here in a second, is that she is skinnier because, again, she just had babies. She had a beautiful litter of 19 babies, which we will look at. and her body tone overall is a little bit more loaf of bread shape. As you can see, he's still got a pretty good loaf of bread shape to him, so he's by no means fat. In my opinion, he's a perfect weight ground boa. They have a really cool scale pattern on their head, which is basically scaled the whole way around. I'm going to zoom in, see if I can show you this here. So they're scaled the whole way down their head, as opposed to some other species of snakes. And that, in my opinion, is one of the big decipherers or deciding factors when you're trying to identify a commonly confused species is the Madagascar ground boa, which is very different than this Dumeril's ground boa. I shouldn't say it's very different. At a glance, if you don't know what you're looking at, you might see no difference. But in actuality, when you look close at them, they're quite different. It's almost like a carpet python versus a diamond python. They're generally more reds and burnt orange. They're a beautiful species, super rare. Their pattern is a little bit more stretched out. And I used to have them here, but I no longer have them. They were just a cool species, but they weren't really for me. It wasn't. I was doing it because other people wanted it, and that just wasn't my thing. I didn't want to. To me, if I keep something and I breed something, it's because I want to keep it and breed it. And although I really liked them, I liked the Dumerils boas better, and I decided to just come on and keep carrying on these guys here. So these species, super cool. Let's flip this camera. I want to actually, we'll keep this camera angled, but I'm going to pause it. I'm going to pull out the female so you guys can see a size difference between, this is an adult male, and he's, again, he's all wrapped up. They don't love being suspended. They're kind of very unnatural when you pick them up off the ground. But again, they will utilize the trees, and they'll eat birds and stuff like that, especially as babies. But as you can see, this is probably a 5 to 6 foot, 5.5, 6 foot male. And he's an awesome snake. So let's go look at the female. Okay guys, we're back and we have the female here. As you can see, she's much larger. She's quite skinny given the fact that she just had a whole bunch of babies, but she did such a good job giving me all those babies. You can see she's got her wrinkles over here, and she is a totally different color. And that's what I wanted to point out between this guy and the other one, is they're so variable in their color. They're just, it's awesome how you can have the same species of snake, but they have just a totally different look to them. Similar patterns to them, but their blushing are different. And this one's more reddish and burgundy brown type of color. They really do blend in really well with some leaf litter and mulch type of color, some just general soil. They're built to be on the ground, and they're just awesome snakes. But again, they're so variable, and the camera didn't pick it up on the last one, but that last male really was a silvery gray color. Super cool looking color and snake. Now, with these species, again, they're quite large. What they do like, what they really enjoy, is if you get some leaves from your yard and put them in their enclosure, you'll see them burrowed right into that leaf litter and just making themselves at home. That's what they enjoy being in. Their ground boas, they like to be in the ground and buried and covered by leaves and whatever they can get themselves in, that way they can ambush their prey. So one thing I have to be careful about, especially with this girl, is she has a really strong feeding response. So when I open up her enclosure, she might be buried in her mulch, and I need to be really careful to use my hook and tap train her a little bit. That way when I do go over to her, I tap her, she realizes food isn't coming, because these guys hit so hard. So a bite from a Dumerils boa, it's not bad as they're babies, and I don't want to scare you, and they're super docile snakes. As you can see here, these guys don't get handled an overly amount, or an obsessive amount of handling, but they really are just awesome snakes. And people give me crap because they're always like, oh, you should hold your snake for 15-20 minutes before you put them on camera so they're not wild like this. Well, if I holded this girl for about 5 to 10 minutes, she would calm down a little bit. But for the sake of this video, I'm just pulling them out, and I want to show you this super cool snake species that we have. Now next, what I want to show you are her babies. So the male that I just showed you was the adult male that I bred to her back in the fall. And then this is the mom, and I want to show you her babies because they're just, again, they're just awesome little chubby babies. But I do want to point out, this is not a small species of snake. These are large snakes. They're going to need a 4 foot by 2 foot minimum enclosure, and they're just heavy bodied. They need that floor space. If you can give them something larger, give it to them. Although with that said, they do grow slower, so they don't need it as large. So like right from the start, you have time to upgrade into that. But do consider that these are going to get to be fairly large, and people saying that they're a 4 to 5 foot species of snake and you'll get the occasional 6 footer, that's not true. At least in my experience, I've never seen an adult Dumerils boa, a true adult Dumerils boa, that was under 5 to 6 feet. So So if you're looking for a small species, this isn't for you. Look at some other dwarf boa constrictor species, some of the Central Americans, specifically look at males, Nicaraguans. Different species like that are what you're going to be interested in. But if you want a really cool, unique species that comes around about once a year, usually in the July, August time frame, this is what you're looking for. So let's go flip this around. I want to show you some babies, and what I'm going to do is, some of these are going up to my buddy at New England Reptile Distributors, so I want to be sexing them. I want to figure out males versus females, and I want to show you guys how I do that. So let's flip it around, and I'm going to show you that now. Alright guys, we're back, and this is the pile of babies that I have here. As you guys can see, I keep getting comments on what racks I use. I use Freedom Breeder racks. As I mentioned in the past, I'm sponsored now by Freedom Breeder, but I do love these racks. I've used them for years, and I always will. This is the 1040 rack that they have on their website. I got this one with the little deli cup so the water goes right in there, and I really like it. And the substrate I have them in are the Freedom Breeder Cocoa Blocks, which I really need more of, so Jesse needs to step up his game, start getting me some more Cocoa Blocks. But as you can see, so there's a lot of babies in here, but what these guys really do well are burrow themselves into this substrate. So that's kind of a cool species trait for these ground boas. As I mentioned previously, they do like to go underground and bury themselves. As babies, they can be a little nippy, but some of these are great, some of these are a little nippier, but overall they calm down super nicely. You know, just gorgeous little chubby babies. And they are quite variable between them. You'll see as I start pulling these out. What we're gonna go through and sex all these babies, and I want to show you how I specifically do it. So let's take this little cranky guy here, and how I sex the babies is right at the tail. It's just no different than sexing boa constrictor babies. Man, this light is gonna wash it all out. But you kind of push down, and if you feel lumps, then it's a male. So this is a male here. I just felt those lumps. You're probably not picking it up, but I'm wondering if you guys can see the spurs over here. This does have little spurs. I'll move my hands, try to out of the way, so maybe it'll focus in on that, which it's not doing. It's just focusing in on my fingers. But there are little tiny spurs on the side, but there's also, you can feel 2 lumps. So that's a male. I'm going to put my males on my right, put my females on my left. You guys keep count for me. So there's one male. Keep him in there. And you saw how easily that guy calmed down. So don't be afraid of getting bit by these guys. It's just, you know, they're just nervous little babies. So this one is a female. So I had no spurs, and it's also no bumps. And you guys can't feel what I'm feeling, but that's a female. And like I said, what I'm doing this for is I want to make sure that when these guys go up to Nerd, New England Reptile Distributors, he gets a nice spread of males and females. He'll have them available. I'll also have them available on my website. But just awesome little babies, you know. I just figured I'd show them off. I never really do videos like this. So that one's another male there. See if you can. Can't. Again, it's really too bad this light is washing it out. But there's a male. And what else we got? It doesn't look like there's that many babies in here until you guys are going to be sitting here saying, "Wow, there's." Still watching this video 10 minutes later. This is a female, and I do want to show them off. Just, I don't know, like I said, it's kind of cool to show off some of the babies here. You know, pretty, just a awesome looking little chubby snake. These guys, it is important that they're well started. So in my opinion, a lot of people have been asking me, can I sell them or pre-sell them? And I don't like to do that because I really need to get them established and feeding and well started for you guys, because they can be tricky at times getting going. It's important that when I do sell these, you guys listen to what I ask you to do. So right now we have 4 females because I want you to have the best experience possible. And in my opinion, it would be irresponsible of me to sell babies without getting them well started, to even have you put a deposit on a baby that hasn't been well started yet, because I don't know what's going to happen to this baby. I don't want you to fall in love with this specific snake and then all of a sudden you can't get it to eat, and the thing either dies on you or dies with me, and that's just not cool. So these guys, they have had a meal now in them, so all of them have had a meal. I'm confident in that, so that's why they're going to go up to Nerd today, and I know Kevin's good at what he does, so he can finish them the remainder of the way before they go to you guys. And I think that you'll just have a great experience overall if you just wait, be patient on them. Prices on these guys, a lot of people have asked about prices. And see, that one's a little tricky. All right, that one's a female. So a lot of people have asked about prices. I don't honestly know the prices of these guys right now. I price them at what they're worth to me. I put a lot of time and effort into this stuff, and you know, it's whatever they're worth to me, whatever I would pay for them, or whatever I would not mind. You know, it's what's the bottom price that I would sell it for. That's kind of how I price them. This is a male, and man, that's a pretty looking male right there. The camera's turning, the color's different, but this male is pink. I mean, these are pink in there, and they look brown on the camera. At least I think. In my viewfinder, they look brown. But it really is important to me that you guys have a good experience overall. So, but at the same time, the price is something that varies year to year, and we can't go on historic prices. You know, I'm not justifying prices being more expensive or cheaper or whatever it is, but, you know, just because you saw these things on a website 5 years ago for $250 doesn't mean they're $250 now. 5 years later, it's prices change. I mean, look at albino boa constrictors. A year, I should say 3-4 years ago, they were $150. Now they're $300 plus. So prices fluctuate, prices change. So I don't know the prices for these yet, but I bet by the time this video goes up, I'm going to have these on the website with individual pictures and prices. So if you are interested, www.jasonsexoticreptiles.com. You do need to message me through Facebook or email or Instagram, one of those. You can contact me on YouTube, but that's going to be just giving you a message. So I've lost count because I haven't really been counting. We can do a quick count at the end, but man, this baby is awesome looking. And I'm looking in the viewfinder, and it doesn't look like it does on the viewfinder. This thing is pink. It is pink and black and just awesome looking colors. The sides on these guys are just incredible. And I don't want to make this sound like a sales video, so I'm going to stop bragging about how cool these guys are and talking about prices. But only reason why I even mention it is because I know I'm going to get the comments, and I bet I'm going to get comments on it because people aren't going to watch it to this point, or they're going to not watch they're going to skip around, which is fine, but I just can't keep responding to comments. Once these guys were born, I got like 200 messages overnight of people asking me how much and can I put a deposit down. And then I had people who were mad at me when I didn't give them a price, or I told them I didn't want to take deposits yet. And it really is, again, it's just for the animal's best interest that I want to make sure that these things are ready to go. I want to see what they look like, see how they develop, how do they compare to what's been out there, what I've produced in the past. And I do just want to make sure that you guys are getting quality stuff and for the right price. So kind of that's where I'm sitting at. So this one, now I just said that one was pink. This one has a lot more blushing in between, so it's not as dark in between these little flower-like patterns here. So it's just, man, these are just cool looking snakes. I am personally probably going to keep a couple of these back. I do have about 5 Dumerils boas now. And a lot of people might ask why they go into Kevin's, because some of these are Kevin's. So that was Kevin's female that I bred with my male. So Kevin and I, we have a cool deal going on, and he's just been a good friend and mentor, and really allowed me to get some cool places over the years just by having him as a friend. So that's why I figured I'd answer that question before it gets asked. Again, this girl here, I assumed it's a girl, but this snake here does have more of that pink and that black blushing, and it really is just personal preference on what you guys prefer. There are some cool lines that people are working with that really take these boas and step them up. That's a male, so I apologize for calling it a girl. Maybe it wants to be a girl, who knows? But yeah, you can just, I'm just trying to get you these colors, and they're just not showing off as well as I want them to. But it's kind of cool. I'm happy to see that I have about a general split of these, of males and females. And if you guys like this video, please comment below. Tell me you like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. But what I want to do is I want to start doing more videos like this, showing off some babies. So if you guys do like this video, please let me know, because I mean, this is just kind of a cool video for me to do. So I get to play with a big pile of babies. I do this off the camera. I might as well film it for you guys. And girls, but look at me going, too much little babies. But I'm thinking we almost have an exact spread. So if anybody can tell me in the description how many males and females I have, since I didn't count them, drop it in there. If you are looking to buy one, just let me know and go from there. So that's another female there. Again, males in this bin, females in this bin. I said on my right and left, but that might not be true. And I think that's all the ones in here. You just gotta dig pretty good just to make sure. All right, so that is a complete split. From here, let's flip it around, close the video, and then I'll just kind of show these two bins off to you one last time. All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I have my babies here. I have my babies here. I do a final count, but I want you guys to drop in the comments below, what do I have for a final count of babies? Males, females, what do I have? So we got them all. It looks like a pretty even split to me, but it does look like I have more females than males. So tell me in the comments below. Again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please give me some topics for this channel. If there's something that you guys want to see and I'm not covering, let me know. I'm happy to cover it, but you got to tell me what you want to see. So again, I appreciate all you guys watching and subscribing. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed the video. Talk to you guys next week.